just because alt season and altcoins have been in a flux, in a little bit of a downturn, honestly. If you look across the market, a lot of altcoins are trading sideways to just not doing much at all. But there are a few ways right now in this market to still ensure that you are profitable and making money. I am going to go over a lot of different ways in this video, 5 different narratives and 5 different platforms that you can jump into right now and actually start making money and actually tangibly find a way to start making upwards of 500 or more every single day. Yes, this is not clickbait. There is legitimate ways in this video to be able to generate that amount of money. And one ecosystem in particular is just not slowing down. And I think there is still time to capitalize on it. So without further ado, let's jump into it. And before we jump into it, guys, be sure to drop down below, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel for more every single day and every week here on In the Game. We have you covered from across crypto, AI, gaming, RWA, meme coins, and more. And of course, drop down below in the description and check out all of our sponsors. We have some incredible sponsors here on the channel, from Everreach Labs, as well as 𝗲𝗏𝗘𝗏, and our premier centralized exchange partner, Blowfin. If you're not already trading on Blowfin, you can check it out down below. You can get a sign-up bonus whenever you deposit as well. There's no KYC, centralized exchange, tons of new pairs on there for you to trade. So you can check out Blowfin down below in the description and sign up today. So let's go ahead and jump into the main bulk of the show. As right now, Bitcoin is actually down a little bit on the day. Ever since we touched those new all-time highs, it's kind of been in this little bit of a middle ground. And right now, altcoins definitely aren't doing much. Like, we see a couple coins like Candle, which is an up and coming kind of like pump fund stream type of competitor, which is really having a crazy day. But other than that, altcoins are absolutely doing nothing. Most of them, as mentioned earlier, are trending downwards. So at this point in time, there's just not a lot of opportunity as far as, like, if you're holding alts, it's not been the best month for you, right? Unless you've been holding stuff like Kaito, like HyperLiquid, or like Virtuals, for instance. Those platforms are absolutely cooking and printing gains for the people that are participating. And in this video, I'm going to guide you through 5 different narratives that you can still jump into right now. And as of this morning, are still popping off super hot launches as well as printing gains for their ecosystem. So I'm going to go over that here in just a second. But the one thing I did want to cover first and foremost is that one news. Really, there's no news that I'm going to cover in this show. It's really just going to be alpha, how to get involved with these different platforms, and how to make money in this market. But Avalanche announced the biggest real estate deal that we've ever seen in crypto to date. So we've always talked about on this channel, like Web3 gaming, how whenever you have an asset on chain, you can't take that away. Like you can't devalue that as far as like a company, or, you know, you own that asset. It's immutable, as they would say, you know, not the project immutable, but just blockchain immutable. But I've always thought that about identification. Like, NFTs could be something like your digital ID, your house deed, your car, whatever the case is. It's proof of ownership, right? And we see $240 billion in real estate up in New York. I believe this is in New York, is coming on chain. In New Jersey, municipalities to digitize property records, and it's powered by Avalanche. This is the largest blockchain deed initiative in US history. So this is pretty crazy news for Avalanche. And once again, it just furthers my conviction in what Avalanche is doing. And I do think that eventually the attention will shift over to projects like Avalanche that are just doing everything right. They might not be the most hyped, they may not be the most flashy, but as of this cycle, they've developed, in my opinion, the most as far as a singular chain that has gone from kind of, I think, finding their footage like a couple of months or a couple of years ago, for example, where now, like, they are a full-fledged powerhouse of an ecosystem. I do think the price will catch up here. What is Avalanche sitting at today? Avalanche, as of today, I think yesterday it was $23. Now it's sitting at about $22.82. I think that's criminally undervalued. If you just accumulate Avalanche over this time period, I think that that will absolutely pay off. But let's get into the main content of the show, as I want to walk you guys through how people are still printing money in this market. You may be getting on crypto Twitter and scrolling and seeing people still talking about how, oh, I had this cook in the virtuals ecosystem, or Kaito paid me this amount, or I made this trade because of this, or I got this airdrop, and you're on the sidelines, or maybe you just don't have the versatility or the information to be able to jump into these apps and know what to do. So in this video, I think this should be a full-fledged guide for you to be able to jump into unknown ecosystems, foreign waters, as they could say, and be able to make money on these projects. Because right now, like I said, the altcoin market is stagnant. As we talked about last video, there's really only a select few winners right now this cycle, and that will turn around when we go into a risk-on environment and see a much more full-fledged altcoin bull run. But for now, you have to be selective, and participants are making way more money than holders at this point in time. So I'm going to show you exactly the ecosystems people are taking advantage of for current and future gain. Let's go ahead and start with number one. And the order I'm going to go in is how lucrative and attainable I deem them. So number one is probably the least lucrative, but I think there's a guarantee of making money long-term on this play. Number one is airdrops. Okay, so like I said, we're going to go down this ladder, and I think as we go down, it's going to get more lucrative as mentioned. So number one, airdrops. And I think there's two big opportunities right now that scream at me. Now, a lot of people are looking at Monad and stuff like that. That just doesn't pique my interest. I've really navigated across the ecosystem. I know they're probably going to cook really hard. I know it's probably a really competitive airdrop, but at the same time, I don't know. I'd rather focus my attention on stuff like Abstract, for example. I think Abstract's coin is going to do incredibly well. Whenever this chain first came out, it wasn't really, a lot of people on the timeline thought there wasn't really a fit. Like what is it doing different than other chains? But they've done a really good job of diversifying themselves from the apps in the ecosystem, as well as just the culture around the chain. Like it has the pudgy culture. There's a tons of different meme coins on there. There's different trading bots now where you can actually snipe meme coins, for example, just like on Solana, if you want to term it that way. And then on top of that, there's a pretty well-fledged gaming ecosystem there with on-chain heroes. Bitcoin is still live and active, which is pretty surprising in my opinion. And Abstract looks good here. And if you notice, this character here is Frankie the Frog. We covered this last video. This is an easy app to jump into, okay? All you have to do is just jump into this application, start playing some rounds, and you start earning meme coins on Abstract, but B, you also get Abstract XP. That is most important. So you just jump in here, buy a couple tickets. Tickets are like 0.00 ETH or 0.001 or something like that. I don't remember the exact price. It's the easiest, most like brain rot game. It's not going to change your world, okay? But at the same time, this is an app that is making revenue, but also the users are getting value. If you look on the side here, I'm earning different ecosystem meme coins on Abstract. You're able to then, if you want to sell those on Abstract mainnet on your global wallet, then you're literally earning XP for number one, playing, buying tickets, on top of that, getting meme coins in the ecosystem, so you have exposure to the ecosystem, then you can trade out of those. And then we also have on-chain heroes going back live for season 2 this week, and I think that's one of the bigger opportunities. When you're in depth with these games, doing volume in these games, spending time, doing transactions, that is going to count up tons for your Abstract XP. So Abstract is all about XP. You want that ticker to go up, you go from silver to gold, to the next level. That is your goal, to acquire as much XP as possible. If you want to attain max XP, it's a really good avenue for content creators who want to get involved. They have a streaming platform there. You can really get involved with XP that way. I actually haven't even gotten involved with streaming on Abstract to this point, but I might do some live streams over there at some point. Another one that I think is a huge opportunity right now, and one that I want to get involved with, because obviously everyone on the timeline, everyone in our private groups at TTOO and Nexus, they're asking me, Hustle, how can we get an allocation into the Black Hole token? And if you're unfamiliar, Black Hole is an upcoming decentralized exchange built on Superverse in collaboration with Avalanche that is built by Alex Becker and Elio Trades. So this is
obviously very hyped. I think anytime people hear Becker and Elio doing a project with the success of Neo Tokyo, you look and you're like, okay, I want to get involved with this. So I get so many questions of how to get involved. The public testnet is now live, and they give full-blown instructions in this article of how to bridge over to the testnet, how to start playing around with this. I think people with app activity on Black Hole probably will get some exposure to this. On top of that, if you want to play the liquidity game, I would just go stake some Superverse, and you're probably guaranteed an allocation into the Black Hole token. But this is the second one that I would farm. It is on testnet, so you're not really getting real rewards, and you're not actually spending real money, but I do think interaction will pay in this ecosystem. As Alex and Elio have mentioned many times, they want to reward active participants and people who contribute value. So if you go in there, you join the Discord, you play around with the testnet, you provide some feedback, I don't see how you'd probably... I think there's a 90% chance you would get an allocation. If you want a 100% chance, just go stake up your Superverse tokens and you will earn allocation into the Black Hole token. Let's continue on to number 2, which is SocialFi and InfoFi. Now, I will preface this. I'm really not a huge fan of this narrative. I kind of think it's the same people on each platform, on the big names on crypto Twitter, just dominate every launch. And that's not a bad thing. Look, and they have built their influence over time to be in that position, but there are opportunities for emerging creators, and there are smaller platforms that aren't just SocialFi. So I'm going to give you some real alpha on this, where a lot of launches are going live on a SocialFi-esque platform that I think are going way under the radar. So let's move over to Social and InfoFi. So first of all, we'll start with the most popular platform, which is Kaito. They have Yapper leaderboards. So you get yaps whenever you tweet on Twitter about certain projects. And the most lucrative opportunities are going to be if you tweet about the projects listed here, which are pre-TGE projects. On top of that, there are some rewards here every single month on the post-TGE. Stuff like Polkadot, they've been giving out a lot of money on Kaito, like ridiculous amounts of money. And then on top of that, we have Arbitrum, who just announced their campaign yesterday. So if you are bullish on any of these ecosystems, you have a crypto Twitter account that gets a little bit of interaction, you can definitely run some of these up in some ecosystems, because look, some of these ecosystems are very niche, like Say, Story, Soon, Pyth, Near, Mantra, oh gosh, Kaya, Huma. There's a lot of like smaller, quote unquote, smaller ecosystems here. So if you can find a niche in some of these, you can definitely carve out a way to make some money. And especially on pre-TGE, these have been some of the most lucrative. If I was to be getting involved with this, I'd be looking at ZeroGravity. I'd potentially be looking at stuff like Yeet. I think that Yeet is a really good Gamified platform that's going to go live here pretty soon. But like, you have to really grind this. If you're going to do this, you have to take it seriously. And as we move on, I think there's more opportunity in each of these platforms, as this is, very diluted, and there's a lot of people competing for these different protocol airdrops. So without further ado, let's move into the next one, which is also, I think, going to be very hard to attain. So I'm just going to briefly touch on it because there is opportunity. However, I think it's going to be very segmented. So there is the initial attention offering coming up for the Loud token. Now, this is for the Loud.io platform, or Loud.io as people are calling it. This right here is going to be an attention offering. And what that means, the top 1,000 social yappers on this project will get allocation into the pre-sale. And it's pretty lucrative. So if you are an influencer or have some influence on Twitter, you want to grind this, it could definitely pay off. The top 1,000 yappers will get access to the pre-sale here. I think each allocation is 0.2 SOL. And if this was to go to like 200 mil, it would be about a $40,000 win for anyone who gets involved. So definitely lucrative, but given the fact that it's only the top 1,000 yappers, I do think this is going to be very weighted heavily to current influencers and people who have followings, which is why I just don't deem InfoFi and SocialFi hardly even worth covering on this channel. However, people are making money doing this right now, so it just has to be included. We'll go into the newest opportunity, and I'm going to once again leave 10 more referral codes down below in the description. You guys ate those first ones up, so I'm going to leave 10 referral codes to the newest SocialFi platform here, which is 𝗂𝗄𝗏. They also do the exact same thing basically that 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏 does. They partner up with projects. They give out rewards for the people who are tweeting and interacting with these projects the most, and also with the most value. Like, it's not all about just one word tweets or I'm bullish or whatever the case is. You need to provide value whenever you interact with these protocols. And I do think that 𝗂𝗄𝗏, this could be interesting. And I think that the snaps that you're earning, I think those will turn into some sort of an airdrop eventually, but we will just have to see. I will leave 10 more referral codes down below in the description if you want to get started with 𝗂𝗄𝗏. But let's get into what I actually think is the easiest, most attainable ecosystem to be able to jump into, and that is on Avalanche. Very surprising, okay? So when it comes to InfoFi and SocialFi, a lot of people really just think of 𝗏𝗏𝗘, and 𝗏𝗏𝗘 is very diluted for the average person. So I'm gonna jump into the arena and really show you the hidden alpha that I think can print money in this market. And the opportunity on Avalanche is the arena. Now, this has been active for quite some time, but they've really leveled up this platform. And I think as far as making money for the average user, this is probably the best bet if you are maybe not like an influencer or have a huge following on crypto Twitter where you can compete for these 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏 and other protocol airdrops, because it is super competitive and pretty hard to do unless you have a pre-existing audience. Whereas I think the arena, whenever you open it up, it just does look like a Twitter copy, right? Like when you're just going through it, they have live streams, you have your own native wallet, you can contribute, you can buy people's tickets, whatever the case is. The real alpha is actually knowing that the Arena SocialFi app actually has their own token launcher. So people come through here and launch their own meme coin, pump fund style tokens. Now, this is still very risky, but if you take a look here, some of these coins have gone to 10 million, $35 million, and these tokens were created on the Arena app. So this is still high risk, but if you're in the trenches, and literally the Arena app allows you to just filter by the trenches, and this will load you up a feed of people who are just diehard inside of the trenches. And if you follow the right Avalanche accounts, you can find these tokens pretty early. So there is a lot of opportunity in making money on the Arena app, but it is not the traditional SocialFi way. It is more so the degen way. And if you've been looking into the Avalanche ecosystem, meme coins have been pretty hot. So while this is higher risk, especially when it comes to the SocialFi curve, I do think that given the fact that there are usually pretty good runners on Avalanche every week or two, I think it's a pretty good spot to at least scan on a day-to-day basis and see if anything catches your eye. Scan AVAX Twitter and just see if anything is popping off. So that will conclude InfoFi and SocialFi. Let's move in to number 3, and that's gaming. There is still money to be made in gaming, and I think that it is being overlooked. Look, I understand that the token scene is not great, okay? We all know that. I've been holding gaming coins for quite some time. They're not really doing much. It's pretty upsetting, to say the least, right? When we just go look at stuff like Prime or Ronin or Beam or Super, whatever the case is, price action's just not friendly. Like, everything's in the red whenever it comes to gaming, no matter how good the protocol is, right? No matter how much people use Ronin, no matter how much people are speculating on Super with the black hole decks, no matter how many people are involved in the Prime parallel ecosystem. It's just not what is popping off at this point in time. Honestly, there are more failures every single day than we see successes in gaming. But what you can do is bet on the right team. So for me, I have slimmed down my conviction to literally like less than 10 projects in the gaming scene, and I'll update that in an upcoming video. Betting on a whole plethora of games in Web3 gaming has just been a net negative. So for me, I'm more diving into active economies that have earning potential, and you can do that right now. So on-chain heroes built on Abstract, they're going back live, and they said this week, so it's Thursday. This should be live this week. Season 2. Season 1, a lot of people made a really solid chunk of cash in the form of the hero token on Abstract. And this also gains you a ton of XP, as we mentioned up front in the airdrop section. So to me, this is a very good opportunity whenever it comes to gaming. I made a pretty good amount of profit in the first season of On-Chain Heroes. They fully embraced the Ponzi style. It's not a really complex game, but look, at this point, it's not about the AAA games that win in crypto. It's more so about the fun and the earning potential. That's what it's always been about, because we're all degens in Web3. So I think On-Chain Heroes, best opportunity this week, especially whenever this goes live for season 2. If you can get involved early, I think it's fantastic as far as an earning potential. On top of that, we have new games coming out like Hedge Empire. Now, you want to be early on these, especially on brand new networks. And this is on the Sophon network. So Sophon went live yesterday, literally 1 day old. There really hasn't been a Ponzi game launched on the Sophon chain. What we've seen is the first real Ponzi on Abstract did well. The first Ponzi on Ronin did well. The first Ponzi movers, it sounds crazy, the first moving Ponzi on certain chains whenever it comes to gaming usually do pretty well. And I actually really like the ideology behind this. Hedge Empire, build your own trading empire, coming soon. You build your hedge fund, hire traders, upgrade your algorithms, and earn yield. This is coming. It's idle, on-chain, and on Sophon. So to me, this is going to be a big play. First Ponzi mover on Sophon. I'd absolutely be looking at this as an earnings opportunity, and definitely is going to be a Ponzi. Do not leave your cash in here. Take every lick of profit that you possibly can. I will be getting involved on day 1, which is tomorrow, by the way. May 30th is when Hedge Empire does go live. And of course, there's still earnings opportunities across tons of games. Pirate Nation, Off the Grid, Maple Story, but we've covered those quite a bit. I do think as far as this week goes, I think that On-Chain Heroes and Hedge Empire, that's where you're going to find the most lucrative opportunities in the gaming sector. But really, it never stops. Like I said, with games like Off the Grid, you can earn every single day if you really choose to. People are still selling their assets for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on a daily basis. So gaming is number 3. But now we're going to get into the most lucrative opportunities. And one does require some capital. One requires a little less capital. So let's jump into number 4. And number 4 is going to be virtuals. Look, the virtuals ecosystem has literally been the hottest thing in crypto almost for over a month now. And if we just go look at the virtuals token, it might shock me how high this thing is now on the watch list because of its market cap. But we look at this month trajectory, up 51% on the month, and this price action and recovery from the 44-cent level has been biblical, to say the least. So this token has been performing quite well, and that is not for no reason. Like, whenever you look at stuff inside this ecosystem, you have people who are turning $500 into $13,000 in just 13 days on virtuals. You might be asking me, how is this possible? Is this sustainable? And is the train running out of steam? Well, as of today, it definitely is not. The latest launch on verticals, which is Solace, is now sitting at a $30 million market cap. This thing launched as high as a $60 million market cap, and a lot of people made crazy gains on this token. Now, there are a couple of caveats. I will, however, walk you guys through how you can get involved with these launches. And really, how high risk is it? And when is it going to be time to pull the sails? When there's not going to be wind behind the sails, let's just say. So looking at someone's strategy who really didn't put in a lot of capital. And for myself, I only put in about $5,000 into the ecosystem, and I have multiplied that quite nicely, utilizing my points and my virtuals, but you need both to maximize this. So let's look at this strategy, because with $500, a lot of you guys could go do this as well. So a few people staked a lot. If you have AI agents on virtuals, you're going to want to go stake them on the virtuals platform. But what is also the alpha and what is maintaining this ecosystem, which sounds crazy, is nobody is selling their tokens, because what you do to earn points is you contribute points into launches. And let's just move over to virtuals so I can show you this a little more hands-on. So as you can see here, there is a few launches here, right? This one goes live in 5 minutes, but it's only 43% subscribed. That's not really something that people are going to cook off of. So it's really not one you would really be dying to get into. The one I just showed you, Solace, was like 6,000% over allocated. So those are the ones that are almost guaranteed to do well. And they come up almost every other day at this point, like one that's won a hackathon or that is a team from a highly vetted project or product or university, whatever the case is. They've typically come up every few days. We've seen Virgin, we've seen Bookie AI. We just saw today with Solace. Those are the ones you really want to go hard on. But first and foremost, points are number one in this ecosystem. So whenever you're getting involved with a launch, let's just dive into one. I'm not allocating into this. And luckily, this one that I'm going to choose is going to be live already. So I'm not buying this token, just a heads up. On the right side here, you can see you pledge points and you pledge your virtuals. So at this point in time, you can see you can commit your different points to these ecosystems. And what happens is you pledge points as well, you pledge virtual, and then you get an allocation into this project. As you can see here on the left side, you can see the wallets that have participated, how many points they have pledged, and how many virtuals they have committed. And really, the points matter way more than the capital at this point in time. Like people, like I said, are making money with 200, 500, 1,000. I only put $5,000 into the ecosystem. I've 4 or 5x my investment during that point in time. So right now, this has been a very lucrative ecosystem. And at the end of the day, I don't see it slowing down in the short term because of what we saw today with Solace launching at such a good market cap. We're just going to continue to see these top level ones overperform, and that's going to make up for everyone's portfolio. But really what's propping up this ecosystem is the staking mechanism. So just looking at 𝗵𝗡𝗧𝗏, his strategy here, like what you need to do to acquire points is get involved with launches, but more so go trade in and out of existing AI agent tokens. That way you accrue points based off of your volume. It really does count for a ton. What I've noticed, if you want to earn the most points possible, literally go to the green tokens, aka ones that have launched. You do not get penalized for selling. So in this ecosystem, to earn points, you get penalized for taking profits. So this is where it gets a little interesting, okay? There is a little bit of a house of cards built up on this ecosystem. So also, as we're going down the ladder, the more lucrative, the more risky, as you're seeing. So there is a little bit of a risk curve here. You can see contributed amount of points, and I love that he's kept up with this. It really makes it easy to cover the airdrop that he received from these different tokens, the amount of ROI on that at this point in time. But what's happening is everyone's taking these tokens and they are staking these tokens. So it is kind of a little bit of a pyramid, house of cards, whatever you want to call it, where people are making all this money, but they can't take profits because what happens is there's a cool down period. If you take profits on a launch, you are penalized for a time period and you cannot earn more points, which means you can't accrue more points to participate in future launches if you've already allocated your points. Your points distribution pauses. So right now, a lot of people have paper gains, which is like $10,000 per token, like launching, and they're making 10K, but they're not really making 10K yet. So eventually people will take profits. What I would advise to do if you get involved with this ecosystem this late is to simply get in, do a few launches, do a few of the big launches, do the trading, like I said, get in and out of existing AI tokens, create some volume, get involved with ones that have launched on the Genesis launch platform, aka green tokens. That is what people are calling them in the ecosystem. Whenever you do that, you will acquire a ton of points over the course of, let's just say, a week. Over the course of a week, a few of these hot launches typically have been proven to go live. Usually there's about 2 to 3 per week that are real cooks, like the ones that make people the 120Xs or the 54Xs dexes. The big ones in the ecosystem so far have been Arbus, Axelrod, Virgin, as well as Bookie AI, and today with Solace. So those come up every few days. Just allocate into it. And you can also allocate into over allocated projects. So don't think if it's over allocated, oh, I missed the boat. Like I saw it on Twitter and then I came and I missed it. You can still allocate and you will get an allocation. It's just not going to be as much as you might like, and you're going to get refunded a portion of your points and your virtuals committed. So that would be my strategy. Get involved with a few launches, maybe stake a little bit of your virtuals so you get some on the back end. However, it's not so weighted in staking. Really, it's weighted in contributions and trading. Like I would just go place some volume on some of these agents as well as contribute to some launches. After a few of these start going live and after you get a comfortable amount of points, look, I think if you have like 100,000 points, a lot of people have more than that. I think 100,000 points is solid. Like I wouldn't be size shamed by that, especially if you're someone with $500 going into this ecosystem. Okay. So for example, if you accrued up a few 100,000 points and you feel comfortable taking profits, start to take profits, because people eventually will. The whales in this ecosystem are going to start taking profits, but there is a legit opportunity here to 5, 10, 20, 30x your money inside of this ecosystem, but you have to be diligent and you have to have a strategy as to when you are going to exit the house of cards. Because once those big cards, aka the whales, start selling at the bottom of the house, then the whole thing's gonna collapse. Like the big bad wolf's gonna blow the whole house down. So I do think there is still legs in it given today, but this is very, very high risk, but has certainly been the biggest money maker for anyone, at least on paper, inside of the crypto industry. And then last, but certainly not least, as I do think this is on paper, the biggest money opportunity that I am going to cover today, and that is HyperLiquid. And I'm not just talking about HyperLiquid, I'm talking about HyperEVM. So there's a big difference here. A lot of people who familiarize themselves with HyperLiquid think, okay, HyperLiquid, look, it is well, first of all, before we move on, I'm also going to leave a description link down below for Virtuals Protocol. If you want to get involved with Virtuals Protocol, you can use that link, easily get involved, and it just leads you right there, avoids you from clicking fishy links. So I forgot to put that in, but that will be down below in the description. A lot of people just relate HyperLiquid as this trading platform, leverage DEX, like that's about it. But at the end of the day, this does so much more than just be a leverage perps DEX. So whenever you look at the full-blown ecosystem, there's vaults, there's staking, there's like copy trading in some sort of ways. There are a lot of different things you can do on just HyperLiquid, but there is a huge difference in just depositing funds into HyperLiquid to trade and actually bridging your funds to the HyperEVM. And I think HyperEVM users are going to eat so well off of the second round airdrop, and I think it will be weighted towards people who have bridged funds and actually participated not just in HyperLiquid itself, but on HyperLiquid applications. And if you're wondering, like, what the hell is on a HyperLiquid? Well, you can take a look here. There's lending, there's stable coins, there's trading, there's launch pads, there's swap platforms, there's options dexes, there's NFT platforms, there's yield farms. And a lot of these I think are really worth getting involved with. Stuff like HyperUnit, ST-Hype, HyperFlash. I see a lot of people, myself included, I'm moving volume across a lot of these apps because I do think there's a huge airdrop opportunity, A, given the price of HyperLiquid, B, given the fact that I think HyperLiquid will be trading at $50+ probably in the mid to short term. And then number 3, that I think a lot of people are underestimating the value of actually bridging over to HyperEVM. And I saw a fantastic thread. I talked about one last video from Pix Onchain, but this one as well, where HyperLiquid will be the biggest airdrop of 2025. Most people are farming it wrong and will get nothing. My strategy is earning 6 figures and 19% APR with zero risk. So he says he started this with $0 and now he's at about 400K. And as he says, it's probably the most overlooked airdrop. And I think the reason is because they've already done an airdrop. So I think a lot of people don't even know there's going to be a second airdrop, but I think a lot of this is going to tie into bridging into HyperEVM, as he mentions here. Now, there is a points platform. What I would do if I was you, That I didn't mean to rhyme that. This happens every show. I saw a comment last show. When I say no pun intended, I actually didn't even mean it. It just happens. But regardless, step 1, get your funds onto HyperLiquid. You can deposit from Solana, Arbitrum, Ethereum. It's pretty easy whenever you're on the HyperLiquid link. I will also drop a link for HyperLiquid. If you want to get involved with HyperLiquid, I would highly advise click the link down below. It gets you right to the platform, right to the sign up. Very, very easy. And then I would use the Hyper Unit bridge. Like I said, I've used Unit quite some times. It's really easy to move to the Hyper EVM chain. And then it's your time to play around. Like I would go to, different yield platforms, as he says here, Hyper Collective for Hype and ST Hype, move it from Hyper EVM and convert it to ST Hype using Hyperbeat. There's a lot of DeFi strategies in here. For me, I would take advantage of a few yield farms that are off HyperLiquid, like into the ecosystem, maybe play around with some NFTs, like he says, on Drip Trade. And then on top of that, don't fade also mixing your activity. So I think mixing activity between staking inside of vaults on HyperLiquid locally, but also doing a ton of bridging and swapping and meme coin trading and NFT minting and staking, yield farming, whatever the case is, there's a ton of opportunity on the actual Hyper EVM side. And I think wallets who blend well, aka are doing those things quite nicely, will get huge airdrops. And if you look here, there are ways, as he says, to jump in here. You can earn USDC in the HLP vaults, earn APR plus HyperLiquid points, LP USDT 0 and FE USD on HyperSwapX equals a narrow range and higher rewards. And then this one here, safe yields and bonus airdrop exposure if you use Felix protocol. So as he also mentions here, a couple of different airdrops that I would just use inside the ecosystem. So I do think HyperUnit probably has a token on the way. There's no reason that they shouldn't. PRJX, this is from Lambo Land. So Project X is from the guys who built PackMoon whenever Blast was really hot. Stealth team with past history of large airdrop wins. I would absolutely get involved with this whenever this goes live. You have Kitten Swap, which is a community run DEX with the 3/3 and points. So there's a lot of not only opportunities for HyperLiquid airdrop, which I think is going to be massive. I actually think that the HyperLiquid round 2 airdrop will be the biggest liquid airdrop that we've seen in crypto history. That is my prediction. All you need to do is just play around, place some trades, put some money in some vaults, bridge some money to Hyper EVM, do the things you've done on ZK Sync, Arbitrum, whatever the airdrops that you farmed in the past. I think this is going to be highly valuable. I would absolutely use HyperUnit. I would get involved with Project X whenever they go live. I would go play around with some NFTs. Just do a lot of different things on this network. And I think by end of Q2, maybe Q3, you're going to see this airdrop be announced, and a lot of people are going to eat very well on the timeline. And this is not influencer exclusive. This is all up to the user, whatever their activity is. And I think that not enough people have bridged over from HyperLiquid's local platform to Hyper EVM. And I think those Hyper EVM users are going to be the ones who win the biggest whenever round 2 HyperLiquid does go live. So that is the 5 different mechanisms people are using in this market to print money. We have airdrops. We have social and InfoFi amongst Kaito. We have Cookie. You also have Laudio. You have Arena, as well as the Arena launch platform, which I think is very, very slept on whenever it comes to meme coins. And a lot of people come to me like, Hustle, where do you find AVAX meme coins? Well, that's exactly where you find it. Also by following solid accounts on Twitter. You have gaming. Look, On-Chain Heroes, Hedge Empire, these Ponzi games, they are absolutely cooking. And I think that, Hedge Empire goes live tomorrow. So I'll update on that and the status whenever that does go live. However, On-Chain Heroes was proven in season 1 to work. And I think season 2 will be just as lucrative. Number 4 was Virtuals Protocols. The Genesis launches are just ridiculous. It is a little bit of a pyramid schemey lock your tokens up so you can't sell them, but just have an exit strategy. That's all I would say in that regard. And then Hyper EVM, I think the biggest opportunity of the year, just like what I'm seeing on my timeline. A lot of people will talk, a lot of people will say I need to get involved, but then whenever this gets announced, people are going to realize how underexposed they are. If you're not participating in the HyperLiquid ecosystem, I would 100% get started today. So that's it for the show today, guys. I know it's a bit long, but I think these more in-depth overviews are going to help you guys win in the crypto market and get more of a full scope of what's going on, how people are making money, also how to do it yourself. So guys, if you enjoy this content, if you enjoy the longer form walkthroughs, tutorials, like the video down below and subscribe to the channel for more. I will be back with more content. As always, play well, my friends, and of course, stay bullish, my friends.